All right, this is the Troubleshooting and Customizing webinar. My name is Alan. With me today also is Tony.
Hey, hey.
We're going to be going over a few things here today. Specifically, we're looking at some troubleshooting. We're going to be looking at wrappers and what wrappers are, as well as some saved link issues that we normally see. So to get started, we're going to go ahead and go to our IDX Broker account. And when we're talking about wrappers, we're going to go ahead and get started there. I'd like to think about a wrapper as kind of like a candy, where IDX Broker is going to be the content that you're showing, the search tools, things like that. But how those are displayed on your website, that's specifically going to be the wrapper, and that's going to be the outside portion of the candy. So you can always take that off. You can not have a wrapper, that kind of thing. So to see what your wrapper looks like in your account, you can go to Designs and then Wrappers. In here, this account has what we're calling a static wrapper, which means that the wrapper does not change with the website. Now, just to see what this wrapper currently looks like, we're going to go ahead and go to one of our search pages, which I already have one up. Here's our main website. So if I go to my advanced search page, you can see we obviously have a problem with our wrapper. What exactly? We don't rightly know at the moment. But what we can see is that none of the IDX Broker Advanced Search page is showing. If I hover over some of these listings, you can see down there at the bottom that this one is going to Google. So if I click this, obviously there is something wrong with my links. And I'm on an IDX Broker page and I'm not on my website. So I need to figure out what's going wrong with the wrapper. There are a number of tools out there that will help you kind of see this in a better format, such as Notepad++. And so we're going to go ahead and copy everything we see here in the header. And you can do that by right mouse clicking and selecting all. And then we're going to copy this. And then we're going to open Notepad++. And if you don't already have it configured to do so, you can select the HTML markup language from the language dropdown. So if I paste that in here, now we can see all of these tags styled. And when I click them, I can see if they close correctly, which is one thing that can break a wrapper. And I can identify the tags, the markup, a lot easier. So this is just the header portion. So the other part I want to do is give myself plenty of room for the footer portion. That way I know that this is where my content split. So now we're going to go back to our IDX Broker account and the same thing. I'm going to select all of this and copy it and go back to Notepad and paste it here.
So Alan, Notepad++ looks pretty sweet. How much is it going to cost me?
Notepad++ is free. You can download that from their website. If you just go to Google and search Notepad++, you should be able to find the installer fairly easy from their website.
Awesome.
So one of the first things looking at this wrapper that I can already tell is wrong, mostly due to my experience of troubleshooting wrappers for clients, is that there's a base tag here. And what this is doing is it's telling the system, and that's your browser, any link that is relative, meaning it does not have the full website address. Like you can see here, this font being loaded from Google has the entire website URL, whereas the one right below it just has that /WP includes. So this relative URL would work great on my website. It's not going to work for IDX Broker because IDX Broker is actually hosting these search pages. So my links aren't absolute. That's the next thing I notice. So what we can do is we can actually remove this base tag and see if that fixes it. But we're also going to need to find and replace all of these relative links with absolute ones. But let's see if there's something else going on here. So the first thing I always want to do is I want to check for unclosed tags. And what I mean by that is if I click this HTML tag, I can see there's this red line in Notepad++. And if I chase this thing all the way down to the bottom, it doesn't have another tag highlighted. So I'm missing one tag already. So I can actually come in here and put in that closing HTML tag. And notice when I click it, now it highlights the whole tag. And if I go back to the top, I now have a closing HTML tag. How about our head tag? We have a closing head tag. It's highlighted. And how about our body tag? We do not have a closing body tag, which we could also tell just by how it was marked up in the first place. So I've gone ahead and noted that these two things need to be added to my wrapper, and I need to remove this base tag. So let's go ahead and hop over to IDX Broker. If you want to just take your edits from Notepad, you can do that as well. You can just highlight all of this and copy it, and then head over to your account. So in here, again, we can select all of this, delete it, and paste in our edit. So one thing we did notice is this base tag needs to go away. So we're going to remove that. And we also noticed we did not have a closing body tag. And when I'm saying that, I'm actually talking about the markup itself. So a closing tag has the leading slash and then the name of that tag. And we don't have a closing HTML tag. So if I save this, just to see these edits on my page, I'm still at my advanced search page. If I refresh, hey, we've got our search showing. Now the wrapper isn't perfect because we're still missing those links that are relative. But if I were to click one of these, if I could actually read them, and I'll do the CSS, and we'll get to that here in a little while, they're actually going to the right spot now. So with that in mind, what's another way we can fix this? Well, in our case, we are using WordPress. So I could set up a dynamic wrapper using the plugin, or if there's also a knowledge base article that kind of outlines how to create a page and create that dynamic wrapper as well. Now the beauty of a dynamic wrapper, and here this account already had one in it, so we'll save this, is when I hit save here, what just happened is the IDX Broker servers went to this URL, copied that source code, and applied it to my global wrapper. And you can see which wrapper you're editing by what's highlighted here. So we've got global, categories, pages, and saved links. So now that I've saved this, let's see how our wrapper looks on our page. If I hop over here and refresh, okay.
Whoa, it's gone.
Yeah, we lost our menu. So something must be wrong with my dynamic wrapper. We can troubleshoot that as well. So back in our IDX Broker account, in that Designs Wrappers section, I'm actually going to copy that URL. Open a new tab, and then I'm going to, in Firefox, you can just do paste and go. In Chrome, I think you also have that option as well. I use Firefox for a lot of things, but when it comes to CSS, which we'll touch on later, you're going to want to use multiple browsers for that. And lo and behold, that wrapper page is not there. So now I know that the big issue here is that somehow that page has either been removed from my website, or if I've recently updated the plugin, maybe I have an issue with the plugin and some permalinks. Let's take a look at that. So we're going to go back to WordPress and take a look at our wrappers. Okay, so in here I have find your new home, but that URL, if I open this here, is not the same. This says find your new home, just like the title of the page. But in my IDX Broker account, it says wrapper. So what happens if I come back to this page and I copy that instead? We're going to highlight this, put in the new one. Now, you don't necessarily have to remove this bit, but as it's already declared, because we kind of prefix that for you, you can remove that. So We've got the whole URL in here. I'm going to save the changes. And let's see if this page now has a wrapper. There we go. So the wrapper that I saw here, you can see the header and the menu. That's actually been applied to my IDX Broker pages successfully. Now that's all stuff that we can troubleshoot with you or on your own, just as you saw here.
So Alan, recently with the new plugin update, IDX has switched from using pages to post types. What if I want to use page type instead of post type for my dynamic wrapper? Am I stuck?
No, you can actually create that wrapper yourself as a page. And if you go to our knowledge base by going to support.idxbroker.com, you're actually going to be able to do this fairly easy. We can actually type in the word dynamic in this search box. And here's the page we want, Dynamic Wrapper Setup. And if I follow these steps, I can create a page in WordPress and actually create that same page type we used to have and create that wrapper myself. Now what's unique about using a page in WordPress is that if you're using other plugins like custom sidebars, things like that, those won't work with post types necessarily unless you have a plugin designed to fit that. So let's go ahead and follow that. If we go back to WordPress, we're going to go to Pages and Add New. Now the thing I'd like to point out is the title of the wrapper will be applied to every single IDX Broker page unless you specify a title within the account. And I'll show you where that is here in a moment. So for this, I'm just going to enter wrapper. And I'm in the visual editor. I know this because I can see font formatting and things like this in the bar here. If I switch to text, now we're talking about code, the actual markup language like we saw before. And from that knowledge base article, there are these two tags, and that's going to be step 2. So you can see I've created the page. Now I'm going to copy these exactly as I see them. So make sure you don't have spaces or anything else in there, and just paste that into your WordPress. Again, you want to make sure that there isn't a space between the divs. These need to be exactly as you see them here. So now I can publish this page, and if I view it, same as before, I'm going to take this URL, and with these you're also going to have this, and this is something we can address with CSS as well. I'm going to copy this URL and come back to my wrapper management page, and just like before, paste that in there, remove this beginning bit, and save the changes. So what does our search page look now? What does it look like? Well, if I refresh, you can see now I've got wrapper up here just like the one we just made. So we can prove that our dynamic wrapper page is working. If we're coming to this page and this title is something else, then we could also dig in further. Normally we're just looking at a global wrapper, but you may have set a custom wrapper for a specific kind of search page, and that's something you can also do. So if I wanted my advanced search page to only have the word advanced search up here so that I can get that already set for me, you can create that wrapper in WordPress and give it that title. And with our new plugin, you're not going to find pages where they were either. So they've been moved to their own section. So you can actually go ahead and use the same terminology, advanced search, and that's going to be a wrapper page. But I also want to stress, be careful doing this, because you're going to see pages in WordPress that say advanced search, and you're going to think that's your advanced search on IDX Broker, but that is not the same thing. That's going to be that wrapper page only.
So that's great, and that is super easy, but what if I don't have WordPress?
And we come across this in a number of other situations. For instance, Squarespace. Squarespace is not WordPress. It's a similar kind of content management system, but you're going to have to be able to actually place HTML, this markup right here, on that page and not as just regular text. I don't want to see this when I visit the page. This should not even display because there's no content between the div. So in Squarespace, you can actually bring up their own support article on how to add this code block. This will let you place markup language in your Squarespace site. So if you do have a content management system that allows you to place markup language, or even if you have your own just hard-coded site, so it's not even a content management system at that point, as long as you include those two tags, that dynamic wrapper will work. The other things to consider is the same things that we just troubleshot before, in that if my links are relative, then I need to make them all absolute on that page because it's not going to be on my website. I need to know exactly where those resources are.
So I've got my wrapper all set up. It looks awesome, but I'm in WordPress making a ton of changes. I'm changing my menu system, changing the design a little bit, and it's not applying to my IDX pages. Is IDX broken?
No, what you're actually seeing here is part of the wrapper system itself. It's only going to reach out to those pages that you've created and update and refresh about once every 3 hours. If you need to see a change immediately after you've made some changes, you can come back into your wrapper section, go to that category or page that you've assigned that wrapper to. In this case, it would be the global wrapper. And we can click this link over here in the blue bar. It says Clear Wrapper Cache. That's going to tell our servers to go and fetch the latest version of that code, and we're going to apply it to the account. And then we can troubleshoot it again if there's still issues. As I outlined before, we're also looking at saved links. So a lot of times we'll get calls asking about why isn't this listing showing up in my saved search, or why aren't these areas, I selected this, but it's missing a bunch of other listings that I know are in that area. That is also something that we can look at, and you already have the tools. That's part of the beauty of the tools that you already have at your disposal. So first of all, let's go ahead and look at that saved link. Now I've set one up already. If you don't know how to create a saved link or saved search, there are excellent articles that will walk you through that in our knowledge base. Right now we're focusing on an existing search that has something missing. So we can always preview our saved link by clicking that magnifying glass, and that'll open this in a new tab in our browser. So on here, I'm seeing 138 search results, but the listing that I have, it's my featured listing, and it's not showing up in these results. And I need to figure out why. In this case, I do know what the MLS listing number is, or the listing ID. So one of the first things to help me troubleshoot this is to do a listing ID search. So I've opened up my search page in another browser. I'm going to go to the listing ID, and I'm going to enter my ID number in here and search for this particular listing. So here I am just at the results page. I can identify something already, but just to kind of go further into this, I'm going to go to the details page for this listing because maybe there's some criteria that will help narrow my search down to show this one in particular. So on the details page, every single one of these, for the most part, is going to have an advanced field that I can search by. So now I want to kind of look at my saved link and how it's set up and see why my listing was left out. So back here again, Preferences, Save Links, Manage. Here's my troubleshoot link. I'm going to click that pencil icon to edit the search criteria. So my listing, it's in Miami-Dade. I know this because it's right here in the county, Miami-Dade County. What else do we have set here? It's contingent, short sale. If we look at the financial field, yep, short sale, contingent. So far I'm matching my criteria pretty well. In the recreation field, I have in-ground swimming pool and swimming pool selected. And if we come over here to recreation, if I can get my eyes to focus on it, here we go. Swimming pool, in-ground swimming pool. So I've matched everything exactly. So what am I missing? Well, this listing is actually $1.1 million. And in my search, I've set a maximum of 800,000. Now, I may not have actually set that, because if we're paying attention here on our advanced search page, we have a default set, 200 to 800,000. So it might be that when I created this link, I thought these were empty and I moved forward and set up that search, and come to find out my listing that I'm looking for didn't fit this part of the criteria. Now that's the case for this particular listing. That won't always be the case. You might run into, when we're looking at like subdivisions and areas, that you've selected two of them, but the particular listing you're looking for, that subdivision or area was the same thing, but maybe it had like Dash Woods or was another area. Because of the way it was written into the listing data, that wasn't selected in my search criteria, so it was left out. Another thing, if when I created that listing ID search, if the listing didn't come up, that's a perfect opportunity to reach out to IDX Broker for some additional support. But you can also go into the MLS coverage page on our website. I can go to this MLS feed coverage. I can go to my particular MLS, and once I click this, I can see the last time that the data was refreshed. So if I know I put my listing in, say, yesterday, and I come here and it says it was refreshed fairly recently, then why isn't my listing showing? Well, now this situation is really out of your hands, and you can reach out to IDX Broker. You can send them an email, say, hey, I'm missing a listing, and they can delve in deeper to help you figure out why this listing isn't showing up as featured, or if I did my listing ID search, why I couldn't find it.
If I send an email to help@idxbroker.com because a listing is missing, what kind of information should I include in that email to make sure they can troubleshoot it for me?
I would include your website address as well as the listing ID you're looking for. Those two things are going to expedite this a lot faster. You're not going to get questions back asking you for that information. It may be that you're writing in from an email address that we don't have associated with your account. So narrowing that down for us gets that whole assistance process and troubleshooting done much faster for you. So now that we know that it was the price, I've cleared that here. I'm going to update my saved link. And if I come back to my saved link and refresh, here we are. There's the listing I was looking for. And because it was featured, I did want that to show up first.
So let's say that I've selected a field in my search and there's listings missing, but I don't see that field on my details page, so I can troubleshoot. Is there any way for me to add that field to the details page?
Yeah, actually, if there's a field you're looking for that's not on your details page, that's not helping you narrow your search down as fine as you need to, we can go to Designs, Pages. We're looking for the Details page section. And just like our advanced search page, this will be the same case where maybe I saw a field on my details page that wasn't on my advanced search, so I wasn't actually able to search down that narrow. We can come over here to Details, click the Fields link. We're going to select our MLS. In this case, we're dealing with the demo data. Single family for the property type, because that's what the listing was in. And when I view this, you can see there are a number of additional fields over here on the right-hand side. Now, you can click the green plus icon to the left of it to add it in, but you want to take care to know that it's going to go into the one I select. So by default, that's going to be the topmost container. If I want it to be in a separate container of its own, I can add a new container, and I can say additional features, just as an example. And now I can add this information here. So maybe I want acres to be included, maybe the city name. And once I add these, I can drag and drop them to better organize it for my viewers when they're on those pages. And again, when you're done, you'll want to save that property type layout. Now, the other question here is, if I edit it for this, does it apply to all? No. If I need this to be on additional property types, I will need to go into this property type and do the same thing. So if I set it here, I can set it once and be done. If a listing does show up and it doesn't have those fields specified, then that container will not show and that field won't be displayed. So that's another thing you can kind of use in your troubleshooting steps there. So let's go back to our dashboard here. All right, so I know we've gone through quite a bit. Are there any questions before we move on to some of the more advanced features of IDX Broker when it comes to custom CSS?
Olga wants to know how we got to the page we were just looking at. So I think she's probably talking about the fields for details pages.
Sure. So for that, we're going to actually go in our IDX Broker account. That's going to be under Designs, Pages. And on this list, you're looking for this gray bar that says Details Pages. And this Details link here, don't click that. All the way on the right-hand side is a link that says Fields. Clicking that will take you into that whole section where you can select your MLS, select the property type you want to edit, and then view those settings.
Perfect. That's all we've got for now. We've kind of been answering as we go, so
all right.
We're good to move on.
So the next part that we're going to be getting into, there is a bit of a disclaimer here, and that is that IDX Broker, we don't offer support for custom CSS. If you are looking for this kind of customization, reach out to our developer partners. You can find them on our website, either at the URL you see on your screen here, or if you go to idxbroker.com, in the developers menu, there's going to be a drop down for finding a developer. Now, this whole section, I'm going to be using some of our browser's tools. These are tools you can use to kind of identify where a problem's coming from. But that aside, we're going to be looking at those browser tools and custom CSS. So let's go ahead and go back to our website. And particularly, let's tackle the first one right off the bat. So in my dynamic wrapper, that title is showing up here, and I really don't want that on all of my IDX Broker pages. We can deal with other things, but it's outside the control on the IDX Broker side. But I can keep my mouse over this word, right mouse click, and go to Inspect Element. So if I hover over what's highlighted here, you can see it actually highlights that entire thing. And looking at what's being applied, I can see over here a bunch of CSS that's being applied to it. In this case, we have looks like three classes. Now a class is going to be these dots that you see. That's going to be the difference between a class and an ID. But my goal here is I want this to not show. Now, I could edit this and I can pull this out, mostly because I've been doing it for a long time. But let's just say I don't want it to display at all. If I right mouse click this in the editor and I go and select this option, Copy Unique Selector, and we're going to put this edit in real time, I can click the Style Editor tab here in Firefox, say New. This is going to give me a blank style sheet to work in. I'm going to paste what I just copied. Now see, it says dot entry title. And as with CSS, we need curly braces to make our declarations, and I don't want it to display. So if I said display none, look what just disappeared. Right before my eyes, live here. So now that I know that this works, I can highlight this and copy it. But where am I going to put it? Well, in the IDX Broker account, if we go to Designs and then Custom CSS, remember this is coming from our global wrapper, so adding it to my global CSS makes the most sense. I'm going to put in a new line, paste this, and save the changes. Now to make sure that that's stuck, we'll come back to our search page and refresh. And that intro title is not showing. CSS can be very helpful. It can help you customize IDX Broker further than you can with just settings in the account. The other thing I wanted to kind of show off a little bit is I've added some CSS that I pulled using the same method. So I got all of these classes and IDs and markup just from using that browser inspection tool. And I know there's a number of our developer partners out there who really do not like trying to style the mobile first display, because maybe this doesn't match my site design. Maybe I want this to be, in the example I'm going to show, red. So if I refresh this with those applied, it's now red and I have a white hover. Now I got this exactly like I showed before by right mouse clicking, inspecting that element, letting it catch up here, and identifying what was being used. So in this case, I went over to the nav class because that's the main container, and I just worked my way up until I found something I could work with here, and then looked at what was being applied. In this case, that background color, that's not what I wanted. So you can see here that just by specifying this class, IDX navbar, using the same markup you see, background color, and then just telling it to be red with an important tag to override what was previously declared. That made me get this red. And then using that same method, going down deeper into these items, the search nav item, this is another one I wanted to address, but just going for the actual line element itself wasn't going to work for me. So I needed to go another level deep, and that's because each one of these is an anchor tag or a link. So in here, I was actually able to apply my overrides by getting very specific. So I said it was a list item with this class, and it was an anchor tag. And then I applied the same method I used before. So looking at my custom CSS, you can tell there's the first part. I found my nav bar. I applied the override. So this is going to be very useful not only for people who want to change the colors of those, and you don't need to know anything fancy really. I can say red, I could say blue, I can just put plain text in here. If I'm using a paint program like Photoshop or GIMP or any of those other tools out there, I can pull the actual hex code color for the exact color I want and drop it in there. Also using the inspection tool, say I want it to be this color blue, if I inspect this, I can see that hex code right here in front of me, and I can actually use this code to make this match my website.
So now you said mobile first. Can you tell me what you mean by that?
Sure. So mobile first is going to be the one template that we have with IDX Broker that inherits the mobile responsiveness of your website. So as an example, if I minimize this down and this gets smaller, notice that the search page responds to the width of the screen, and also that my website is responsive, meaning that I don't have that full menu anymore. All of my options are available here and work great on mobile. Now there's also the mobile wrappers that come with our account. That is a big difference, and we'll look at that as well because I've had this question come up a number of times. So I've applied this here, but is it going to work on a mobile phone? And am I going to see that header change? So if you have mobile wrappers enabled on your account, you can actually append this to the end of your URL. Now, depending on the page you're looking at, that's going to change between a question mark mobile and an ampersand mobile. So first, we'll show you the question mark version. That's going to be appended to the page itself. In this case, we're looking at the advanced search. So, well, I hit the search button. I'm going to go ahead and add that here and press enter. And so now here's the mobile version. It's black, it doesn't match my site colors, and just like before with that navigation, I can right mouse click this, inspect the element, and now looking at the mobile side, I can actually find right here all this stuff that's black that I want to change and apply that to the mobile CSS by going into the account. By default, it's set to desktop, but let's say for my search pages, I want that to be on mobile. Well, when I hit that, you'll notice the CSS that's applied, there's nothing there. It's only here for the desktop. So I can apply those overrides here and then effectively change what this banner bar looks like, what my button colors are. We can go a lot further with the customization here. Now, because I'm not on a mobile device, if I hit search, it's going to take me back to that desktop version. So in this case, at the end of the URL, rather than a question mark, because we've already specified that for you, everything else is going to be appended. So we need to use an ampersand, shift 7, and then enter the word mobile. And that will give us the mobile view for the results page. So maybe I want this to be red or match my, maybe my brokerage's colors or website colors better.
So I spent a bunch of time getting the CSS exactly the way I want it on mobile first, on my, let's say, my details pages, okay? But then I decided I wanted to change my template to content or content to or whatever is in there.
Right.
Now what?
So the IDs and classes change across the templates. So what you have customized for one template, you will need to revisit and identify those unique IDs and classes again. But you have most of the work already done. You have your colors. It's just a matter of identifying that container and specifying it again.
Awesome.
So we've seen a little bit of the mobile customization. We're not going to get too far into that this time. Maybe in a future video that we'll dedicate that to just customizing mobile. If you want to use the mobile wrappers and you don't have or don't want to use mobile first. And we also saw how to add that mobile parameter to the URL. So far, this is what we've covered. We've shown you some great methods to troubleshoot, to customize your IDX Broker pages, get them to match your website, as well as some browser tools that you already have, and those being those things you can append to the URL like mobile, your browser's inspection tool, and actually using the style sheet editor to apply those styles in real time so you can see that they're working before you add them to your account.
So you like Firefox, I like Firefox. Not everybody likes Firefox. What if I'm using Chrome or Internet Explorer? Can I still use browser tools?
Yeah, and so they're going to be available on just about every browser. So, and that goes down to Internet Explorer, Chrome, Safari, and here if we go to, we'll just go to Google just to show that they're there. So here we are. I don't want to see the Google logo, just to show that this isn't just an IDX Broker thing. I can inspect that element, and on this one, because we've got a device here, Chrome offers you a little bit more in terms of emulation. You can emulate a mobile device. That's something that Firefox doesn't let you do. Also, it's always good when you're doing CSS, I mentioned this before, to use multiple browsers, because Firefox is not going to show CSS the same way that Chrome will or that Safari will. So if you don't have additional browsers installed while doing the customizations, you may make a change and it not show up correctly to everyone. So here I am. I can look at this guy, and we're going to look at the element style, and just because we can, live on their website, make it disappear. Again, display none.
So we've gone over editing the CSS on a global level, but I've set up a bunch of widgets, and I want to edit the CSS just for that widget. And Kathy was kind of hoping to see a little bit about that. Can you go into how I would do that?
So within our IDX Broker account, we need to go and list those widgets. So designs, widgets, manage. And let's take a look at the featured agent widget. We'll preview this, and I'm also going to edit this widget. So here we can see what our widget looks like. And again, we can use that inspect element tool to identify what's being applied here. So if I'm looking at my actual widget, it's going to start right here. Now this one has a width set for 150 pixels. Maybe I want that to be wider or narrower. I can make these changes here, but this helps me identify what ID is being applied and where it's coming from. I can tell that this is being applied inline, which tells me that it was brought in with the widget itself. It's not coming from my widget CSS. That's going to be on my theme. Same with style CSS. None of these, if I hover over them, point to IDX Broker. So I've identified that this issue is with my theme. So if I want to edit this CSS, when I'm editing the widget, I can go and click the show link, and it's going to show me all of this stuff. But as I just identified, maybe I want this to be wider. If I look over here, I see IDX featured agent wrap, and the width is set to 150 pixels. Now, what if I wanted this to be responsive, things like that? That's just going to be changes here. So if I put in 200 pixels or 100%, you can see these changes apply instantly. Now let's say that's what I want it to do on our website. Here's that same thing, IDX featured agent wrap, and there's the width. I now put the changes that I want in here, save that widget, and now when that widget's refreshed on my page, my home page, anywhere I have that widget placed, it's going to bring this CSS in with it.
Awesome.
All right, so do we have any other questions?
Doesn't look like it. We've been answering questions as we move through the webinar, so I think we've hit them.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for us. If you want a copy of the webinar or if you have any questions, feel free to email us either at info@IDXBroker or help@IDXBroker. If you're looking for some upcoming webinars, you can also check that out on our website. And this particular one should be on YouTube. You can find that here at youtube.com/IDX Incorporated. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and it's been great to share our knowledge with you, and we look forward to doing this again in the future.